She just beat her for the second time in 2 months. Same scoreline, same dominance. But what happened after the final point, that unexpected moment caught on camera, tells a story that goes far beyond tennis. This wasn't just a victory. This was a clash of two worlds, two journeys, and two women carrying the weight of their nations. And the moment they shared, nobody saw it coming. It was supposed to be different this time. A new surface, a new city, a new challenge. That's what Elina Svitolina had promised herself after the first defeat. The grass in Berlin had favored Eala's aggressive game. But hard courts? Hard courts were where Svitolina's experience, her consistency, her relentless defense would shine. Tomorrow is a new surface, new country, a new city, so it's a new challenge. Svitolina had told the WTA ahead of this quarterfinal. She was confident. She had to be. Because losing to a 21-year-old once was a surprise. Losing to her twice would be a statement, and Svitolina wasn't ready to let that statement be written. The stage was set. The William H.G. Fitzgerald Tennis Center in Washington, D.C. on Friday night, July 31, 2026. A crowd of thousands, many waving Filipino flags, packed the stands. And in the center of it all, two women who had already written one chapter of their rivalry were about to write another. The opening set was a battle of returns, and the first 5 service games ended in breaks. Eala edging a 3-2 advantage as both players struggled to hold serve. The unseeded Filipina consolidated the advantage by holding serve in the 6th game, and she threatened another break after racing to a 30-0 lead in the 7th. Svitolina steadied, however, and reeled off 4 consecutive points to hold serve for the first time. Svitolina, 31, had a chance to swing momentum in her favor when she held 3 break points in the 8th game. It was the kind of moment that could have changed everything. A veteran of 20 WTA titles, 3 Grand Slam semifinals, and countless pressure moments knew exactly what to do. She had been here before. She had beaten the best. She was not supposed to lose to the same young player twice. But Eala responded with 5 consecutive points to hold serve. 5 points that told the world that she was not intimidated. 5 points that said she had studied the game, she had prepared, and she was ready. Eala carried that momentum into the next game and broke for the 4th time to wrap up the first set in just 43 minutes. Return points proved the biggest difference, with Eala holding a 24-13 advantage over the world number 10, a 9-point advantage in return points. That's not luck. That's precision. That's a player who had figured out exactly how to dismantle the Svitolina game. The second set opened much like the first, with Svitolina breaking in the opening game. Eala immediately threatened to break back, earning 3 break points in the second, but the reigning Italian Open champion dug herself out of trouble to consolidate the early advantage for a 2-0 lead. The players then found more rhythm behind their serves, trading comfortable holds over the next 3 games, as Svitolina maintained a 3-2 cushion. Then Eala turned the tide in the 6th. She attacked Svitolina's second serve to earn her first break of the second set and backed it up with a composed hold to lead 4-3. Each player held their next service game comfortably before Eala, leading 5-4. Applied relentless pressure from the baseline to earn a final break to close out the straight sets victory. The final score? 6-3, 6-4, the same scoreline as Berlin, the same dominance. 1 hour and 54 minutes of pure, unrelenting brilliance from a 21-year-old who had just beaten the world number 10 for the 2nd time in 2 months. Elina was being aggressive, especially in the second set, so I'm very happy, Eala said in her post-match interview on court. There was no gloating, no celebration. Just a quiet satisfaction, a recognition of a job well done. Svitolina, for her part, had to process what had just happened. She had promised herself this would be different. She had believed that hard courts would give her the edge. But Eala had other plans. And in that moment, standing at the net, she had to confront the reality of what this loss meant. But then came the moment nobody expected. The words exchanged between these two competitors, the acknowledgement that went beyond the match. A gesture that spoke volumes about the respect two great players can have for each other. And for the first time all night, something happened that wasn't captured in any stat line or scoreboard. Something unexpected. Something caught on camera. To understand why that moment on the court mattered so much, you have to understand who Elina Svitolina is and what she carries with her every single time she steps onto a tennis court. She is the most successful athlete in the history of Ukrainian tennis. A former world number 3, an 18-time WTA singles champion, Ukraine's first ever Olympic tennis medalist, a bronze at the Tokyo 2020 Games, and a 3-time Grand Slam semifinalist. She has won the prestigious WTA finals in 2018. She has beaten the best players in the world on the biggest stages. Her resume is the stuff of legends. But her story goes far beyond the tennis court. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, everything changed for Svitolina. She became more than just a tennis player. She became a voice for her country, a symbol of resistance, and a beacon of hope for millions. She became an ambassador for United 24, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's official fundraising platform. She founded the Svitilina Foundation, which supports young tennis talents in Ukraine and has already reached more than 2,400 participants. She has used her platform to raise awareness, fundraise for humanitarian efforts, and rebuild destroyed homes and schools in her homeland. I want to really use my voice and use my platform at the fullest while I have this opportunity, Svitolina said. And she has done it while navigating one of the most challenging personal journeys imaginable. In October 2022, she gave birth to her daughter, Sky. By April 2023, just 6 months later, she had returned to professional tennis, and within those first 4 months, she had already won a WTA title in Strasbourg, reached the quarterfinals of Roland Garros, defeated the world number 1, and advanced to the Wimbledon semifinals. She was a mother and a champion, a symbol of resilience in a time of unimaginable hardship. But there's another dimension to Svitolina's story, one that has defined her public image and created moments of intense tension on the court. Since the invasion, Ukrainian players have refused to shake hands with opponents from Russia and Belarus, the countries that have launched and supported the aggression against their homeland. Each time I step on the court, I'm introduced as a Ukrainian tennis player, and I feel like I'm playing for my whole country, Svitolina has said. The protocol is clear and unwavering. When Svitolina faces opponents from Russia or Belarus, there is no pre-match photo. There is no post-match handshake. An announcement is made before the match, and a statement is flashed on the big screen, explaining the situation and asking fans to respect the decision. It has created moments of profound awkwardness, like at Wimbledon in 2023 when Victoria Azarenka was booed by fans who didn't understand the context. It has turned tennis matches into geopolitical statements. But Svitolina remains steadfast. The war is still ongoing. Still rockets are going to Ukraine, she has said. Those two countries still considered aggressors. For us, it's very sad and very painful to see this even considered. She has dedicated her victories to her homeland. After winning the Italian Open in May 2026, just 3 days after one of the deadliest attacks on Kyiv in the 4-year conflict, she gave an emotional speech. It's been really heavy for the past couple of weeks for Ukraine. I feel all the love.
Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
The weight she carries is almost unimaginable. She wakes up every morning to news of missile strikes on her homeland. Friends and compatriots are fighting on the front lines, and yet when she steps onto the court, she plays with grace, elegance, and unshakable determination. I have a lot of friends who took weapons and went to the front line who are serving the country, Svitolina has said. I'm really proud of everything that they are doing for Ukraine. She sees every match as an opportunity to bring joy to a nation that desperately needs it. People are really living horrible and terrifying lives in Ukraine, so I should not be allowed to really be sad because I'm a very, very lucky person, she said after losing in the Australian Open semifinals. I feel like for the past weeks, they have been really carrying me through with great vibes, with great emotions. And that brings us back to the moment on the court in Washington. Because Eala is not Russian, she is not Belarusian. She is a young woman from the Philippines who grew up watching Svitolina, who has admired her from afar, and who understands the weight her opponent carries. When the match ended, something unexpected happened. Something caught on camera that told a story far beyond the scoreboard. And it revealed that sometimes the most powerful moments in sports are the ones we least expect. The final point had just been played. A double fault from Svitilina sealed the victory for Eala. The same scoreline, the same dominance, the same result as Berlin. The stadium erupted. Filipino flags waved furiously. The crowd that had packed the stands, that had traveled from across the country, that had turned this tournament into a celebration of Filipino pride, roared their approval. Eala raised her arms in triumph. She had done it again. She had beaten a world number 10 for the 6th time this season. She had booked her 3rd semifinal of the year. She had proven that her victory in Berlin was no fluke, no lucky break, no one-time wonder. This was who she was now, a giant killer. But then came the moment that nobody expected. As the two players approached the net for the customary handshake, something unusual happened. Svitolina didn't just shake Eala's hand and walk away. She paused. She looked the young Filipina in the eyes. And what followed was a moment of genuine connection that transcended the scoreboard. Svitolina had lost. She had been beaten for the 2nd time in 2 months by a player she had been confident she could defeat. She had come to Washington expecting a different result, believing that hard courts would finally give her the edge. Instead, she had been dismantled again, the same scoreline, the same round, the same feeling of helplessness against a rising star. But she didn't storm off. She didn't brush past Eala. She stopped. And for a brief moment, she acknowledged the young woman who had just beaten her with a grace that spoke volumes about who she is as a person. What was said between them? That remains between the two competitors. But the body language told a story that cameras captured perfectly. There was respect in that handshake. There was recognition. And there was something else. An understanding that this was more than just a tennis match. Because Elina Svitolina understands better than most what it means to carry the weight of a nation. She has done it for years. She has played for Ukraine while her homeland is at war. She has raised funds, raised awareness, and raised her voice when it would have been easier to stay silent. She has dedicated victories to her country and refused to shake hands with opponents from aggressor nations. And Eala? She understands that weight too. She carries the hopes of a diaspora, the dreams of 110 million Filipinos, and the responsibility of being the first Filipina to reach this level of tennis. She has spoken about it openly, acknowledging that she represents a minority and that her success provides a pathway for others who might not have seen one before. In that handshake, 2 worlds collided. 2 journeys intersected. 2 women who have been told they don't belong, who have fought against expectations and barriers, who have carried more than just their rackets onto the court, shared a moment that no scoreboard could capture. And when Svitilina walked off the court, the crowd applauded her too. They applauded her for her resilience, her elegance, and her strength. They applauded her for being more than just a tennis player, for being a symbol of hope for millions. It was a moment of genuine sportsmanship, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful moments in sport aren't the victories themselves, but the connections we make in defeat. The unexpected moment caught on camera told a story far beyond the scoreboard. It told the story of 2 women who understand what it truly means to fight for something bigger than themselves. The handshake between Eala and Elina Svitolina at the net told a story that no scoreboard could capture. Both women lingered for just a moment longer than necessary. There was no cold, perfunctory tap. There was genuine connection. And in that moment, 2 worlds collided. The young Filipina who had just beaten her childhood idol, and the Ukrainian veteran who had lost to the same player for the 2nd time in 2 months.
What makes this moment so remarkable is the context. Elina Svitolina's handshake policy is one of the most documented and debated topics in tennis.
Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, she has refused to shake hands with opponents from Russia and Belarus, the countries that have launched and supported the aggression against her homeland. It's a stance she has defended passionately. I have a lot of friends who took weapons and went to the front line who are serving the country, Svitilina has said. I'm really proud of everything that they are doing for Ukraine. She sees every match as an opportunity to bring joy to a nation that desperately needs it. And when she competes against Russian players, she calls it her mission. That's why this handshake with Eala matters so much. Because Eala is not Russian. She is not Belarusian. She is a young woman from the Philippines who grew up watching Svitilina, who has admired her from afar, and who understands the weight her opponent carries. She's a mother, and I find her to act with such elegance and strength, Eala said after their first meeting in Berlin. Those weren't just polite words. They were a genuine acknowledgement of everything Svitolina represents. Eala recognized that Svitolina's story goes far beyond tennis. When I look at Elina, I see a fighter, Eala has said. She's been through so much and she's still out here competing at the highest level. The camera caught it all. The gentle smile on Eala's face as she approached the net. The brief pause as Svitolina looked her in the eyes. The handshake that was neither rushed nor prolonged, but filled with something that looked an awful lot like mutual admiration. Then came the moment that truly defined their rivalry. Svitolina didn't just walk away. She acknowledged Eala's victory. She nodded. She accepted the loss with the same grace Eala had praised in Berlin. When she walked off the court, the crowd applauded her too. Not for winning, but for who she is as a person. The amount of effort you have to put in just to stay with these tough players is incredible, Eala reflected after the match. There's so much I've learned about the tour, about myself, and about what it really takes to compete at this level, both physically and mentally. Those words apply to both of them. Because in that handshake, two athletes acknowledged something deeper than the scoreline. They acknowledged the struggle, the sacrifice, and the resilience it takes to compete at this level. Especially when you're carrying more than just a racket. What happens when an icon meets another icon in the making? What happens when you look across the net and see a reflection of your own journey? And what does it truly mean to respect an opponent? Not despite the rivalry, but because of it. That unexpected moment caught on camera told a story far beyond the scoreboard. It told the story of two women from different worlds, different struggles, who found common ground on a tennis court in Washington, D.C. And for a split second, the cameras captured something rare and beautiful. Not just a handshake, but an understanding. Eala did it again. She dismantled world no. 10 Elina Svitolina for the second time in 2 months, booking a spot in the DC Open semifinals. But the real story wasn't just the victory. It was the unexpected moment caught on camera. A handshake that transcended tennis. A display of mutual respect between a young Filipina sensation and a Ukrainian veteran who carries the weight of her nation. Two worlds collided in Washington, D.C., and for a moment, the cameras captured something beautiful. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We bring you the biggest stories in tennis, drama, and emotion every single week. Don't miss what happens next.